Well, since we're talking about names and everything, it's kind of funny also because I have multiple names. I go by a few names, not just one. I go by Ray Stevens, Daryl Stevens, David Ray. Besides Bubba, it's kind of funny. My name, like my YouTube channel, originally was called Hinahanta. Because my original Yahoo email address was hinahanta@yahoo.com. Hinahanta. Hinahanta is the peaceful road, a peaceful path, the bright path. How you want to talk, say it in Choctaw. But Hinahanta means a peaceful path. That's the name I kind of just adopted. But anyway, Hinahanta on my YouTube channel was like, what's that? What is that? What is that? So I went ahead and changed it to David Ray. That's in fact, I have a Flickr account called David Ray Photography. David Ray. And the way I came up with that David Ray was the story that my grandmother told me about me when I was born. Now, I kind of have to go back. And have I ever told a story before? I don't know. If I have, I have. If I haven't, here it goes. When I was born into this world, 1974, December 13. It's on a Friday, in fact. My mama had a boyfriend, and his name was Daryl Ray. Now, my daddy loved my mama, and I guess my mama loved my daddy too. A few problems though. My daddy had a wife and 2 kids. Ugh. But it is what it is. It's 1970s, man. The sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or whatever it's called. But anyway, from what my grandmother told me, when I was born, my mother wanted to name me David. David, middle name, her maiden name Stevens. And I don't know if what that middle name would have been. I don't know. But from what I heard from my grandmother, David was my first name. David. And my grandmother told my mama, no, you named this boy after his daddy. And my David's name was Daryl Ray. So, as legend says it, my grandmother wrote my name on my birth certificate. Daryl Ray. Daryl Ray. That's after my daddy's name. Now, my last name is Stevens, of course. My stepdad, well, that's a different story. Let's go ahead and get into it. Why not? My mama had a boyfriend named Daryl Ray. Daryl Ray got my mama pregnant. Produced me. Now, Daryl Ray, my daddy, had a wife. 2 kids. Now, I'm not getting into the drama of it all, but at one time I never knew my dad. Never knew him. I didn't meet him until I was like 21 years old. And the kind of reasons why I did look for him. And my mama, no sit on her. She wants to project herself to the best light and best wholesomeness to her kids. Nobody wants to know that your mama was sleeping around. It is what it is, though. I mean, I got no beef in that game. I mean, I was produced, and here I am. Yeah. So, my mama told me my daddy didn't love me. He didn't want me. He deposited his deposit and left, and there I came 9 months later. Now, my grandma on the backside says, "Listen, your daddy loved you. He has some situations going on in his life, and your mama kind of kicked him out of her life, thus out of your life." So now I have 2 different stories. I got my mama's story and my grandmother's story. Well, which story is true? Well, how do you find out? How do you find out which one's true? Well, I'll tell you how you find out what something's true. You find the man. Daryl Ray. You find my daddy. I looked for him. I couldn't find him. Now, my first wife, for some reason, like maybe not even an hour worth of searching, found this dude. He had like 3 acres of property up near Austin, Texas, but his property straddled the county line So what property was in one county and the other property was in another county, and he had an address in this county, a phone number in this county. It was a kind of a situation where that's why I couldn't find him. And I tried looking, but you know, my first wife just found him. I mean, was able to find him, make some phone calls. This is back in the day when you made a phone call to an operator, and there was no Google search, and you know, stuff like that. So anyway, so I met him. So you know, I got his number. I called him. Said, "Hey, my name is Daryl Ray. I might be your son." He said, "My name is Daryl Ray too." So we had arrangements to meet. I went up to Austin, drove up to Austin, Texas, to not even Austin, it's outside. It's outside of Austin. And sure enough, he had a junkyard. He used to pour concrete. I used to pour concrete. It's kind of weird. He had a little junkyard, so we sat down. I said, "Hey, you know, I got a question." And I said, I got no beef. I got no, you know, whatever the story comes out to be. You know, it happened 20 years ago, 1974, and that is way too much water under the bridge to even have an upset bone in this mess. So I said, I'm just curious, what happened? And I didn't tell him about my mama's story, my grandma's story. I just said, hey, what happened? So his story was, well, I met your mama. I loved your mama. You were produced. The problem is, I had a wife and children. So he said he went and divorced his wife to marry my mama. It's okay. He says, this is when we lived up in Shelveston Apartments. You know, I had a video about that, you know, also. I went up there, check it out, and I got kicked out. Anyway, he said, I went to see your mama one day at the apartment complex, and knocked on the door, and some dude answered the door. And he said, I think his name was like Igor or something. He had a beard and a big old burly looking dude. I said, Igor? It's about Egon. Now, it turns out, I guess maybe something my grandmother didn't know either, and my mom wasn't going to tell me this. My mama had a boyfriend, my daddy, who was married, and had a boyfriend who became my stepdad later on in life, and a father of two of my two siblings, half brother, half sister. Now you can't make this stuff up. I said, really? He said, yeah, Igor. His name is Egon Walter Schulak. He's from Germany. Born and raised in Germany. Came to America when he was about 5-6 years old. Different story. Kerrville, Texas. Kind of cool story too, but that's a different story. And yeah, he's knocking that door. The dude named Igor answers the door. I remember some photos of my stepdad when he was younger. He had a biker, you know, he had a bike, a motorcycle. I think he worked on an oil rig or something for a while, oil industry, and had a beard. Yeah, he looked like a damn Viking or something. Yeah, answered that door, and some Viking dude named Igor answered the door and said, "Who you?" And so he kind of noped out of that situation. Mama kind of told him later on, say, "Hey, don't come by no more." And that was ironically, I had no memory of my father per se, just weird memories. Only through photos I've seen that I think I remember that moment, but I don't. But yeah, man. So that's how I got named Daryl Ray, and why in my YouTube and my photography life I go by David Ray, because David supposedly would have been my name, but I became a Daryl instead. Daryl Ray, David Ray. Yeah, I got friends who call me David who don't know the story. They see me online, on my online stuff, and they just assume my name is David. I got coworkers that call me David. You know, people I work with at work. So, but yeah, that's the story of that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I think later on, my mother finally found out that I found the story. Again, I got no anger to that. I mean, you know, she wanted to, you know, to portray the most wholesome, most wholesome, you know, image to the kids, not someone who was probably late teens, early 20s, doing what late teens, early 20s do. Have boyfriends, have party. You know, when I was born, my grandparents raised me. You know, because again, you know, we all lived in groups. You know, my grandparents kind of off on raised all of us. I mean, all my cousins, my aunts and uncles, and yeah, it's kind of my grandparents raised a lot of us cousins. You know, this is how it was back then. So, but yeah, man, those are stories that no, I don't have no kids. But I think my personality, though, if I did have kids and I had a story like that, I'm definitely gonna be telling my kids that story, because that is story. That is campfire story quality there. That is campfire story quality. But that's all I got there. Yeah, my daddy. I heard a lot of story about my daddy. I ain't getting that. Because I heard my daddy, besides my mama, my mama and me, his wife, two half sisters I got. I have rumors that I think I have like total 6 sisters out here in Houston walking around that I never met. I'm the only boy, and I think he had every rest of his sisters. But yeah, I got at least 1 or 2 more sisters walking around Houston that I have never met, and they're out here somewhere. And one of them's like young, like in her maybe mid-20s right now. So he was rolling around. That stone was rolling around a little bit, you know, even long after all that happened. So that's all I got. Talk about names. Shoot, Bubba, David Ray. Hot to be Key.